welcome to Miss Music. On this channel, I'm looking at music that may have passed you by, but I thought what I would do on this video is just go through my top 10 favorite releases of 2022. And in true Top of the Pops style, I'll be counting down from 10 to 1. And I think I'll split the video into two parts so it's not so long. So I've chosen these albums because they're probably not super well known, and I really love them. And they're albums that I've been playing and playing again over 2022. So at number 10, it's one of these weird groups that if you don't know of them, you don't know of them. And that sounds strange, but what I mean by that is, you know, people like Ed Sheeran. I've never bought an Ed Sheeran record. I've never actively wanted to listen to Ed Sheeran, but I could probably pick out an Ed Sheeran song if you played me one. And I think that's almost abusive. Whereas this band, Porcupine Tree, if you don't know them, you probably don't know them. So Closure Continuation was a new release from Porcupine Tree after many years of releasing nothing. Steven Wilson had started a very successful solo career, and to all intents and purposes, the band had split up, and then they came back with this album. It's a great album. It's probably not one of their best, but it's still really worth listening to if you like that kind of heavier sound. And it's not prog rock, but you know, it's inspired, I think, by prog rock. So this album was released in June of this year. It got 71 out of 100 on Metacritic, and I just love it. So if you don't know it, two of the tracks to get into it would be, first of all, the first track on the album, Harridan. Harridan is really what this group do best. It's got these tight, menacing rhythms. The drumming is just amazing. It's got blazing guitars, and it really shows this band at its rhythmic, roaring best. So number 9 couldn't be more different. This is Katy J. Pearson's Sound of the Morning album. It was released in July. It got 82 on Metacritic. Some of the songs are reminiscent of 1970s folk songs, and for me, on a couple of songs, there's a Joni Mitchell vibe, which is no bad thing to have on a song. And then there's this unique, quite odd voice, which reminds me a little bit of Victoria Williams. And I love that kind of style where you have this very innocent sounding voice singing these very deep and thoughtful lyrics. So tracks to check out on this album, if you want to get into it, would be Sound of the Morning. I mean, maybe you disagree, but for me, this has a kind of Ladies of the Canyon vibe to it, that early Joni Mitchell feel. But don't get fooled, this is not a folk album. If you make it past the first track, you're in for a treat. Pearson is able to take multiple genres of music and kind of squish them into something new, unique and exciting. Number 8 is Shearwater. This was released in June and got 71 on Metacritic. One of the things that surprised me about this, with Katy J. Pearson, I would have put money on her being American. She's not. She's from Bristol. And almost as adamantly, I would have put money on Shearwater coming from the UK. There is something so British about the sound of this band, and they come from Austin, Texas. I just cannot believe they come from Texas. The album really deserves a listen. Jonathan Mayberg's voice is incredible, and you know, on some of these tracks it's just haunting. I mean, don't take my word for it. Listen to the first track on this album, Highgate. If you listen to this track, you will want to listen to the whole album. So I'm ashamed to say again, number 7 is an artist that I never heard of before, but I've grown to really love this year. And this is Ezra Furman. Ezra Furman is an incredible songwriter. I think with an anger and a passion in their voice, and somebody who can write incredible lyrics. So if you want to listen to this album, I would say check out the first track, Train Comes Through. If you are a musician and you happen to be listening to this, please have a listen to that first track and tell me, is this a certain genre or style or category of song? It seems to me that it's a kind of song I really like, that just kind of keeps pushing forward, pushing through with no chorus. It's just driving on all the time. So for this section, the last album, number 6, and this is Pale Blue Eyes, and the album's called Souvenirs. Again, I've never heard of Pale Blue Eyes. I think they're a new group. The only thing I know about them is they come from Devon. This is an album that it's one of those albums that I'd listened to a couple of times and then suddenly I was hooked. It's such a rhythmically happy album, if that makes any sense. Listen to the first track, Globe. If you do listen to Globe, you will be hooked. You will not be able to stop listening to this album. It's like a joyous Joy Division song. I don't think there were many joyous Joy Division songs, but if they made a happy one, it would sound like this. So if you want to know what my top 5 albums were for this year, then do check out part 2.